All right, y'all. In this video, we're going to be talking about debt and freedom, man. Debt and freedom, and why it is so important to stay out of debt, and how being debt free equals freedom. And everything that I'm saying in this video is solely from things that I've experienced in my own personal life. So everything that I'm going to mention in this video and I'm going to talk about in regards to like debt and freedom has everything to do with what I've experienced personally in my 29 years of life. So the first thing is debt, bro. We live in a country where it's out in the United States. For those of you that may not be from the United States, it's a capitalist country, bro. Everything in this country revolves around money, just like most countries. And so this country of America, the United States, is built on debt, bro. It's built on debt. America is in trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, and they're probably never gonna get out of that debt. It is what it is. And so the reason why America is in trillions and trillions of dollars of debt is because they make it so easy. They make it so easy for anyone to just take out loans, take out credit cards, buy vehicles under loans, under interest rates. And it's just, it's so easy for anybody to get into debt. And the biggest reason why it's so easy and why America is in trillions of dollars in debt is because most Americans don't receive any sort of education on debt and how debt works. And so if you guys are not familiar with schooling systems here in the United States, and in my honest opinion, I'm being honest, and let me know if you guys agree too, I genuinely didn't start learning about how money works until I got to college, but that's only because I was old enough to understand this can't be life, bro. The only reason why I started learning about money and how money works, about credit cards and loans and leveraging loan, this and that, the only reason I started learning about that is because I was old enough in college. I was about 18, 19. You're a young adult those years. And so I started exploring. I started wanting to learn these things because I'm like, there's no way I'm just going to live life and stay in debt and just work until I die. Like, there's no way that's life. This can't be. And so, 2-3 years, I think, into college is when I really started to, that's when I got my first credit card. I bought my first car, taking out a loan using my friend was a co-signer because my credit score didn't even exist. And so those were the first years. Usually, in America, that's when kids start exploring, taking out credit cards, taking out loans, because they're at that age where, the economy or the system lets them take out those, lets them take out debt or borrow credit cards or borrow money, borrow loans, especially in college, which is manipulative, I feel like, where kids are taking out thousands of dollars in loans and they don't even know what they want to do with their life. They don't even know why they're in school. They don't even know why they're in college. And I was one of those kids. My first 2 years in college, and I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to go to school. But my first 2 years, I'm not going to kid with you guys, first 2 years of college, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do with my life. I'm being completely honest, bro. I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do with my life. And fortunately for me, I had a scholarship. Some people are taking out thousands and thousands of dollars going to school, not knowing what they want to do in their life. And so in the moment, you're just taking out money, taking out loans, but you're not thinking that eventually when you graduate, college, you're going to have to pay back all that money. And on top of that, you're going to have to pay interest on all of that money. And so besides all that, one of the biggest things I want to tell you guys is if you have any sort of debt, and I've had plenty of debt, credit cards, I've taken out a couple of student loans, I've taken out car loans and stuff like that. What I want to tell you guys is that as long as you are in debt, as long as you owe people money, bro, you will always be shackled to that debt. You will always be shackled to something. If you're in debt for thousands of dollars, you always have to work. If you are in debt, you always have to work because you always owe somebody money. If you have car payments, you are in debt to that bank because you're always going to have to pay that bank. You know, if you have credit cards, and credit cards are the worst ones, you got to educate yourself about credit cards and how credit cards work. Because if you don't, bro, the way the system is set up, it is so easy to fall into credit card debt, and you'll never be able to get out because of how manipulative those cards are. And the interest rates on credit cards are anywhere between 18 to like almost 30% now, which is just ridiculous, bro. Like ridiculous. And so just educate yourself. What I started doing when I was at the age of like 18, 19, 20, I started watching YouTube videos, and I can include some of them. I started watching so many YouTube videos about how do credit cards work. When should I make my payments? What should I do with credit cards? You know, I started learning about loans, how loans work, what are interest rates. You know, I started studying all those things. I started looking at why America is even built on debt. I started studying, you know, why isn't you know, credit cards and credit scores and all this stuff, why isn't that taught in college? It's because America is built on citizens' backs, bro. They want us to get into debt, so we're paying the government, we're paying these banks for the rest of our lives. And that's the type of life that you don't want to be in. These past couple years, I decided, you know, if I'm going to utilize, I'm not saying all loans and all credit cards are bad. I will never sit here and tell you guys to not take out loans, not take out credit cards. I'm not saying that. You can take out those things, but what I'm telling you is don't be shackled to those things. Educate yourself on how to make your credit card payments. Educate yourself on how can you leverage loans. If you're just taking out loans and you're making payments on cars for the rest of your life, bro, you're not going to build wealth. You are not going to build wealth. You have to learn how can you leverage loans. Like, for example, next year, I want to buy a house. I want to buy a duplex, you know, so I can rent out the other side to people. So that way I can start cash flowing, so I can make money off of, you know, the home that I'm buying. And while I'm renting it out, I'm cash flowing. You're also building equity in that piece of property that you own. So that's a way that you can leverage debt. You can leverage loans. For example, credit cards. If you have a credit card and you have a business, and you're utilizing those credit cards for your business, and you're using them to make investments to your business, and you're seeing good returns, that's good. It builds your credit score. You get more access to more credit, so you're able to invest more in your business. You're able to invest more in things that are going to help you build assets, you know. So, bro, educate yourself on loans. Educate yourself on how credit cards work. Educate yourself on these things. And I'm not a master at that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys everything about credit cards and loans, because I myself am still learning. I'm still going on YouTube. I'm still learning every single day about how these things work, because I know that the most successful people in this world, they understand how money works. They understand how loans work. They understand how credit cards work. They understand how these things work, so they can use them to build wealth. They can use them to generate wealth, because a lot of us are using these things to just get into debt and to get more into poverty. And so we got to educate yourselves. You know, what is leveraging a loan? What is leveraging a debt? How can I leverage these credit cards? What can I do these things? Look it up on YouTube. It's free. You don't even have to go to college to get a business degree now. You don't even have to go to college to start a business, bro. You can go on YouTube, and YouTube will show you. So just go on YouTube, look up how credit cards work. Look up how can you leverage loans. Look up how can you get out of debt. If you guys really, really are serious about getting out of debt and rebuilding your life, bro, go to Dave Ramsey. He has a book, you know, Baby Steps to a Millionaire, and he also has a YouTube channel and a podcast where he teaches people how to get out of debt. And he's helped millions of people get out of debt. And I've seen some people be in like millions of dollars in debt, and he's helped them. So if you think you're in like $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 in debt, I've seen on that show, you guys can go watch, you know, Dave Ramsey. Look it up, YouTube. He's on wherever you listen to your podcast. Go listen to his stuff. And you'll see people are like, and you think you have bad debt. You haven't seen anything when you go to listen to Dave Ramsey's show. So like, go watch those things on YouTube. It's completely free. Learn how to get yourself out of debt, bro. Because as long as you're in debt, as long as you owe somebody money, how can you build wealth? How can you generate wealth if you're always in debt and you're always paying the bank, you're always paying the government, you're always paying someone? How are you ever going to build wealth? How are you ever going to build freedom? And that's the next topic I want to talk about. Ever since I decided to, slowly get out of debt, ever since I decided to learn how credit cards work, bro, I was able to save money so easily. Just last year, bro, I think it took me only about like 6 months to save close to like $8,000 to $10,000. And you know how I did that? Because I had freedom to invest and I had freedom to save my money. When you're not constantly making $600, if you're not constantly making $600 car payments, if you're not constantly paying back student loans, if you're not constantly paying back credit card loans, bro, imagine saving $700, $600 a month for like the next, 2-3 years, bro. You're gonna save thousands and thousands of dollars. And so that's what I started doing. I started with my credit cards. Which cards have the smallest amount of money due? I started paying that off. I looked at my vehicle, at my car. I think I had like $3,000 to $4,000 left on my car that I was doing, payments on for like the past 4 years. I decided, you know what? I have enough money saved up. Let me just spend this $4,000, get out of debt. So instead of paying this $200-$300 per month, I can save that. And so when I decided to do these things, bro, I decided to start doing these payments. I decided to, paying off my credit cards and all this stuff. Bro, it was so easy for me to start, saving money, investing, and building wealth. One of my friends asked me because, my car got stolen last year by, I had a Honda, the Honda and Kia pandemic, the Kia boys. I don't know if you guys heard of them. But my vehicle, it was stolen and I didn't have full coverage on it. And so, and it was an old beater. It was an old vehicle. And so, I bought that didn't stress me out. You know why? Because I had freedom, bro. I have money saved up. I was able to buy, a better car. I bought a 2016 Toyota Camry because I had money saved up. I learned how to save my money. I learned how to get out of debt. So when things like that happen, when my car gets stolen or my job fires me or something happens or emergency happens, bro, I have money to save myself. If you have money, bro, if you have money saved up and you don't like your job and you have 6 to 7 months of emergency funds saved up, bro, you can say screw that job and leave and look for another job, and you can find another job within 1 to 2 months. But if you don't have that freedom, if you don't have that money saved up, if you're, filled with debt, if you have debt all the way up to your neck, bro, and you're drowning in debt, that means you're shackled to that job. You can't tell your boss screw you, even though they're treating you bad. You have to stay because what? You have to pay debt, bro. You have to pay for that debt. You're shackled. You're in prison to these banks. You're in prison to your job, to your employer. And this might take a while for you guys to understand, but when you decide that you want to build your own freedom, you don't want to rely on other people, you don't want to rely on the government, you don't want to rely on your employer, you don't want to rely on the person that's renting this house. You can decide that, freedom is everything. Freedom is everything. And so the only way you can get to that point is by deciding, hey, bro, I don't want to be in debt anymore. I don't want to owe people anymore. I don't want to do these car payments anymore. I don't want to do these credit card payments anymore. I want to educate myself on what financial literacy is. I want to educate myself on how to save money. I want to educate myself on how to invest. I want to educate myself on how to, start a business, start a company, so I'm not working for somebody. I want to work for myself. You can do all of these things. And it's never too late, bro. A lot of people, even myself, and I solely blame social media for these things. That we see people on social media buying these extravagant cars, going on vacations, bro. Stop looking at that stuff. Stop looking at that stuff. It's never too late to start something. Just because you're, maybe you're 30 years old, maybe you're 40 years old, 50, 60, 70. It's never too late to start changing your life. It's never too late. There's a quote that I heard the other day. It's like, where do you want to be 5 years from now? Do you want to still be stuck in that same place that you're at? Or do you want to be, someplace better? You decide. If you die within the 5 years, then okay, you don't have to worry about that. You passed away, you died. But what if 5 years from now you're still alive and you're still stuck in that same spot and you're still procrastinating and you're still blaming other people for your situations, you're still blaming other people for where you're at? You'll never get anywhere in life. The moment that you decide that, hey, bro, enough is enough, I need to educate myself on what I need to do to get out of my situation. How can I get out of credit card debt? How can I get out of these student loans? How can I get out of these car payments? You know, how can I leave this job? And the only way you can do that, the only way you can gain truly freedom is by not being shackled to those things. You know, you have to learn that. You have to educate yourself. The biggest thing I try to tell myself every day is, bro, no one is coming to save you. Like, you're on your own, bruh. And the quicker you learn that, the quicker you understand that, the quicker you understand how money works, how life works, the easier it gets, bro. And it's not going to be easy. You know, nothing's easy in life. If becoming wealthy and building wealth was easy, you know, everybody would be doing it. But it's not. It's hard. You have to be disciplined. You have to be consistent. You have to continuously learn. I'm continuously watching videos, continuously learning every single day so I can teach these things to my family, you know, to my siblings, to my loved ones. It's important, bro. So the message I have for you guys in this video is, if you guys have any sort of debt, you know, and you're shackled to those things and you're depressed and you cannot, bro, start today. Start watching videos. Like I said, I recommended Dave Ramsey. Go watch his show. I'll link his show in the comments or whatever. Go watch it. You know, go watch Bigger Pockets podcast, where you can learn how to invest in real estate. If you want to learn how to invest in the stock market, I'll attach videos. You got to learn. You have to educate yourself. Hopefully, you guys, this video helped you. Hopefully, this video, you know, helps someone. And as always, I appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.